Hello and welcome to this tutorial from the Faal ICT Academy video library. In this tutorial, I'm going to briefly explain how the web works. Now, it is important we understand, the underlying technology and what actually happens behind the scene whenever we visit a web page. Now, let me just give an example. Now, let's say, for example, you are sitting here with your laptop or maybe with your desktop computer, and then you open a web browser to access a web page or a website. So when you send a request, let's say you type www.facebook.com, your request first goes to your internet service provider, that is your ISP. Now, your internet service provider is having a server called DNS. It's called the DNS server. Now, the DNS role is to translate DNS or domain, is to translate host names into IP addresses. Now, you type a host name, you type www.facebook.com. So the computer or your browser does not understand what facebook.com means. So it has to send a request to the DNS server of your ISP to ask who exactly is facebook.com. So the DNS server will look into its DNS record to find out the IP address of facebook.com. If it doesn't find it in its record, then it will pass it to the next DNS until that IP address is found. Now, when the DNS server finds the record or the IP address of facebook.com, then it will send it back to the browser. Now, the IP address might look like this: 13.16.37.8. Right now, this is what actually the computer understands. The computer does not understand facebook.com or cnn.com or youtube.com. So first, whenever you type an address on the browser, that address actually, because the point is, it is easier for human beings to understand domain names than this series of numbers called IP addresses. So when we send a request, always remember that there is a DNS server within your internet service provider that resolves DNS or host names into IP addresses. So when the browser receives the IP address, now the browser will understand where to go and find that page. So the browser then will go to the hosting server that is containing the page that it is requesting, for example facebook.com. Now that hosting server now will send the page to the browser, and the browser will display the page, right? So this is what actually happens behind the scene. The user types in a web address, for example cnn.com, and then that request goes to the DNS server, so that the DNS server will resolve that host name that was typed by the user, so that the DNS server will make sure that the IP address of that website is sent back to the browser, so that the browser can get that information and then go into the open web or to the open internet to find that web resources. So this is what happens behind the scene, and I hope you understood, and thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel to get more tutorials, and don't also forget to visit our website at faalictacademy.com.